Welcome back to the bakery. I am your host, Honky Tonk Bright, and as your chief baker, I'm back with another hot slice. I want to tell you guys another story because I like telling stories. And to do that, I want to start off with a tidbit of information, a little bit of trivia. Some of you may be familiar with the name Robert Louis Stevenson. He's an author, or he was an author. And one of the books that he wrote was called The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I read this book, or a version of this book, when I was probably in fifth grade. And there was a series called Great Illustrated Classics. So they did something of like a summary of the book. It was still a large enough version of the book, but it was kind of like edited and kind of abridged for the sake of young readers. And there was usually information in there, either somewhere in the front or in the back, that talked about the author or the work of literature. So when I read The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, one of the things I found out is that Robert Louis Stevenson had a nightmare. And when he woke up, he started writing. And within about 3 days or so, he had come up with the rough draft of what eventually became The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So as a child, because I had to be 10 or 11, I thought that was an amazing idea. And I thought, you know what? I want to try that. So I would, after that, off and on, attempt to write down what I dreamed about, because I had some pretty weird dreams as a child. And really, nothing ever really came of that from back then. But it was an interesting practice. I recommend trying it just for the sake of seeing what you dream about, seeing if you can compare this dream to that dream. Because if you're anything like me, I'm pretty sure this is a normal thing. You have certain recurring dreams. And so when you can actually write it down and get some details about it, you can see how the last time compares to this time, that sort of thing. Another tidbit about that, apparently, about Robert Louis Stevenson. He was at the time dealing with tuberculosis, and he had been prescribed cocaine to deal with his lung hemorrhaging. So Coke might have had something to do with him having the dream about Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, which is also interesting because if I remember correctly, part of the formula that had to do with him creating Mr. Hyde was a large quantity of great white salt. And now I'm wondering if it was really salt or if it was just powder. But anyway, let's fast forward. So because of that, I want to tell you about a dream that I had that I was able to successfully turn into a story, and then something completely unrelated that's coincidental. So let's start with a dream. A few years back, I had a dream, this is probably about 2018, that I was at a dive bar. And I'm at the dive bar with two of my friends, one of whom is only about a year and a half younger than me. The other one's who's about 10 years younger than me. And so in the dream, we're here at the bar, and the youngest one, is shooting pool, while me and the other one are having drinks. Just sitting there drinking beer, minding our business. And the young guy is mopping everybody up on the pool table. And what ends up happening is when he's finished and he's decided that he's ready to go, he comes over to us, and we're kind of talking about wrapping it up. And a guy comes up who's obviously drunk. And he starts off kind of playing nice, talking to the young guy who just beat everybody in pool, saying something to the effect of, well, you've got some pretty decent pool skills. But it starts getting obvious that he's hostile. And I think what happens in the dream is that maybe he pushes him. And because of the push, me and the other guy retaliate. Me and the two of us who were not involved in the pool matches, we retaliate. So one swings and hits him on the head with a bottle, and then I swing and hit him with a pool cue, and the other one swings and hits him with a bar stool, like a wooden bar stool. Turned into a whole classic TV bar fight sort of thing. So all of this happens, and the guy apparently decides he doesn't want to do this. He didn't want to take this route. And so he packs it up and leaves, like unexplained. And we kind of all look at each other, like, what happened here? We're confused. And then the bartender, politely asks us, like, hey, you guys are cool, but y'all probably should leave. So we leave because we figured there's no point in making this any worse. And we get to the parking lot, and for some strange reason, this guy that we just beat up, he's standing behind a police car, a constable car, with the trunk popped. And he pulls out something like a 38 or a 44, some sort of revolver, and he starts shooting at us, and we all scatter. That's the dream I had. So I told my friends about it, and they found it kind of entertaining. And I hadn't written anything in a little while, so I was curious to see if I could make it happen. So I didn't put pen to paper. That wouldn't be true. I put fingers to keypad, the keyboard, and I made something happen with that. And only exaggerated in little portions. So, I mean, I had to come up with what song would have been playing on the radio, on the jukebox, and I had to come up with names. So usually when I do these stories, I don't give real names. So my character's name was Yellow, not because of the color, but because of the term ice. Ice in Spanish is Hielo, hielo, but to the untrained English-speaking ear, it just sounds like yellow. So that was the name I went with for myself. The friend who was closer in age to me, I went with Nino, and that's because in real life, when this friend came with me to visit one of my best friends, he was talking about one of his family members' involvement in drug trade in the years past, and my best friend casually looked at him and said, "Okay, Nino Bright," because he wasn't exactly his skin tone wise. He probably wouldn't have been appropriate to call him Nino Brown. So that was kind of funny. Then the third guy, we usually address him by initials, and his first name is a Bible name. So I really just changed it to a different Bible name. I gave him the name John, and so in the story, he's JJ. So that's how that happened. And all of the other details, the majority of the details in the story are pretty much the same as the way it happened in the dream. And the only thing that I could not realistically fit into the story was I couldn't justify an actual police vehicle, a squad car being parked at the bar with this plainclothes guy with the trunk open shooting at us. So the only real difference is that it was a regular car. And I was thinking, if it's possible, I might continue it, maybe throw a part 2 in there and some kind of way make it obvious that he was a police officer. But I never did figure out how to do that. And that was 3-4 years ago. But that's the story of how a dream that I had turned into a story that is now called Sore Loser. Now, separately, I have friends who dabble in music. And just maybe a few weeks ago, one of my friends was on Twitter, and he found an old video of himself making a SoundCloud rap parody. So he retweeted it, and he said something like, "Should I do country now?" So when he gets home, he goes on YouTube and he finds a country instrumental, and he kind of freestyled on it, just playing around. And when he did that, when he said, "Should I do country?" Another one of our friends says, "Well, if you do it, I'm going to do it." And so the first one, the one who had initially made the SoundCloud rap parody, he plays a song and he lays a verse, just kind of playing around. The other one, who said, "I'm going to do it too," he lays a verse as well. And I mean, this all happens in like an hour. They pitch in the money so that they can buy the instrumental and license it so they can put it on streaming platforms. And they basically debut it on Twitter. So what started really as a joke just kind of turned into them creating a song and uploading it. And why that's relevant to this is because the name of the song is Bar Fight. And after having listened to the song, it technically, in my opinion, makes for a perfect soundtrack for Sore Loser. So if you're on any streaming platforms, if you're on YouTube or Spotify, Apple Music, anything like that, you might want to check out Bar Fight. And I'll include all the details for you in the description. And I thought that was a very interesting coincidence because I listened to it a couple of times and I was like, you know what? This sounds exactly like the dream that I had and the story that I wrote. And it's funny how sometimes great minds can think alike without even knowing that they're doing that. So now let's put it on you guys. Have any of you ever had a dream that you figured was story or movie worthy or song worthy? If so, feel free to comment. Have any of you just happened to kind of freestyle something that you thought belonged up for public consumption? A song, a verse, anything like that? Because what makes that even funnier is that the way that song came about didn't seem too dissimilar from the way that Lil Nas X came up with Old Town Road. Not sure how serious he was when he initially debuted it, but yeah, I'm pretty sure he didn't expect it to turn into what it turned into. But either way, it's very interesting how that happened. My dream, my story, their song. And I figured you guys would be entertained by that story. So, again, as usual, you guys know how to reach me. We've got @BreakBreadBro on Twitter, @BreakBreadBro on TikTok. We've got BreakBreadBrother at gmail.com. You have ways to access me. Same thing on Facebook, Break Bread Bro. So, audio clips, I'll take them. Comments, I'll take them. Any kind of input, I'd love it. You guys got to get in the kitchen with me. Let's all bake some bread together. I will see you guys next time. Maybe we'll talk about something serious. Maybe I'll tell you another story. It all depends. Have fun. Arrivederci.